In this video, we are replacing our temporary shelves by permanent ones.
So the idea behind this little project is to have shelves that aren't fixed permanently in the trailer that we can remove if we need to. And so the design is basically to have two sets of panels that will be inserted into the cabinets, and that if we ever want to remove them or don't need them anymore, that it won't leave any marks, any holes, or that it won't have anything glued to the trailer permanently. Um, and the design that I've made on the computer is just a layout of the different pieces that I had in mind and just make sure that it fit on a 4x8 sheet of material just to keep the cost down. So the material that I chose was a pre-finish panel that is 1/8 thick, so super thin and super lightweight, but it will do the job. And it's not the same color as a cabinet, but since it will be hidden inside, it doesn't really matter much. So the first step was to cut down the panels to the measurement that I took inside the cabinet, and these will go on the side, on each side of the cabinet. And to my great surprise is when I went out to test out the panel in the cabinet, saw that one of the cabinet was definitely not straight, and actually not a surprise. We all know how fast these trailers are built, but still, and one of the cabinets was really not straight, really not square when we compare the bottom of it to the side, as we can see here that the brown piece, the refinish material that you see there is square, and we can see the difference between the cabinet itself. But it was mainly only one of the two cabinet. As you can see, the other there is pretty straight, pretty square compared to the other. So we'll have to deal with that. It's not a big deal anyway. It's inside the cabinet. No one will see that. The other thing is we need to play around that block there, because that thing is screwed to that over bed section. So as you can see, I made a cutout around the block because we cannot remove it, and we will have to work around that. And that bar on top that was used to suspend clothing, well, we will just remove that one and be done with it. Now that we have those panels in place and nicely dimensioned so that it won't move front to back, we need to add support for the shelves. And in order to do that, we will be using some small pine material so that it remains lightweight. These pieces will be glued onto the panel, so in order to make sure that it was working, I tested out on a little piece and it worked amazing. It is super strong. The next step I went through is to mark down where I wanted those pieces on the panel, and I went ahead and sanded the panel to remove the finish. Not a huge sanding, just a little bit of sanding to remove the luster that is applied on those panels, at least the one that I had, in order to have a better adhesion for the glue that I will be applying after. Obviously, after the sanding is done, it is a matter of removing the dust caused by the sanding, and we'll be ready to glue on. Once the sanding is done, it's just a matter of applying a bead of construction adhesive, which after we will press the pine blocks onto it. In order to be sure that everything will remain in place once glued, we obviously use clamps to make sure that everything stays in place on the line that we marked. And to add a little extra, I went ahead and screwed in some small screws on the back of the panel for the bottom and the top strip. Once everything is dry, we can put them into place. As you can see, both panels on each side are there to support the shelves made out of pre-finished material as well, but we can also see that it's way too soft, so we need to build a structure for the shelf. The shelf structure is quite simple. It's just made out of small pieces of pine that will be screwed straight on the pine that are glued to the panel inside of the cabinet. 2 long pieces for the sides and 4 to 5 pieces for the insert, depending on how do you want to structure your shelf. It's just a matter of building a frame with distributing the inside pieces equally, and that strap with the corner clamp makes it much easier to deal with. What you see me doing in here is applying a little bit of glue to each end of each pieces just to make sure that everything will be solid and will hold it together. And then I will obviously clamp this to make sure that the glue will stick properly. And I will add some brad nails to the end of all of those little pieces, again, to add to the structure rigidity. And just like that, we have 2 shelves, one short one for the top and a longer one for the bottom. Already pre-drilled and ready to install. Once the frame is in place, there will be much less space to insert the panel, so we just make sure to insert it first and we'll leave it on top there. And then I just clamped the frame through the pine structure just to help me screw it right after. Once everything is fixed and solid, it's just a matter of pressing that pre-finished panel down on the wood structure, making sure that every corner is pressed down and along the sides. You can even add a couple brad nails or some tack if you need to, but it wasn't necessary in my case. Then it's just a matter of repeating the process for the upper shelf. The difference here is that there's the notch that need to be done on the pre-finished material just to counter for that block that we saw earlier, but other than that is the same thing, and you can see here that it's screwed right in the side. One last finishing touch, adding a front through those little shelves, a little piece of pre-finished material that will serve as a finishing touch, but as well as a ledge for those shelves.
So here's the final result. 2 shelves. We can use the full length of it all the way to the back. And we even found a little basket to, fit the little stuff on top and make it easier, more convenient to take out. So in the end, a much better result than what we had, those temporary shells that we had before. Pretty happy with the result. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy it. Please consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you next time.